Hi there, my name is Kay Moon and I'm a twin flame channel and Western astrologer. And this is a video about the new moon in Cancer for the Twin Flame Collective, Divine Counterpart Collective, occurring on June 28th, 2022 at 10:28 p.m. If you happen to be on the Eastern Seaboard of the United States, please check a time zone converter for your local time. What an interesting lunation, right? Lots of interesting energies flying around. I think the best word I can use to describe what I'm seeing is this is a very triggering time for a lot of people for a lot of reasons. Change can be challenging. I spoke about this at length over in the community section with the North Node conjunct Uranus. And in my private list, if you're not on it, you should subscribe. The link to do so is just below this video. But this new moon in Cancer conjunct Lilith is not letting any of us escape from our triggers, from our pain, from our emotional truths and realities at this point in time. It is bringing them all up to the surface. So, for kind of like a hot and holy personal reckoning, so that we can look and face the things that have been hard to feel, to face the things that we need to heal. As the old saying goes, if you want to heal it, you have to feel it. You can't spiritually bypass this with positive thinking or trying to affirmation your way through what you're feeling. So, I go in depth around all the aspects, and there's several really large aspects speaking to this new moon in Cancer that will give you greater context and understanding for what the work is at this time and why you may be seeing what you're seeing in your connections at this time. I talk about it all inside the Lightworker Energy Update for this lunation. Feel free to have a listen to that so that you can better understand how people are using the energy, what behaviors you might be seeing from your loved ones, and why you might be feeling the way you're feeling. In this particular update, I'm going to speak more directly to what the divine counterparts, Juno and Jupiter, are doing and how this energy may be playing out in divine counterpart connections. So let's get into it. I'll start with Juno. She sits here at that 19th degree of Pisces, conjunct Nessus and Neptune. So much fun. And she's also in a 90-degree angle over here to Mercury. In addition to having a sextile to this Uranus conjunct the North Node energy. So, like I said, I did speak at length about Uranus conjunct the North Node in the community section of this channel. If you missed it and you're not subscribed, definitely subscribe so that the community section can show up in your feed, but also check out the meaning. I'm going to give you a brief overview here, but I go more in depth there. And if you're not subscribed to my private list, do it, because I always provide more details to them directly. So with Neptune, illusions, deception, connection to spirit, connection to the veil, the void, speaking in an inharmonious aspect to Mercury here, which is clarity and communication, and the divine feminine caught up in that mix. There can be a lot of unclarity in the divine feminine energy fields at this time. There can also be quite a bit of purging, quite a bit of ruminating. Nessus will think, overthink, and then rethink the overthink. The Nessus energy likes to go in circles, especially when it's talking to Mercury, which it is. So it can be a bit OCD about stuff. And so during this period of time, what can be coming up for a lot of divine feminine energies, whether you personally are exploring that polarity and identify yourself as a divine feminine, or you are exploring a more integrated energy at this time and recognize your own feminine energy internally as really being something you're cognizant of at each of these lunar updates. One of the things you may be noticing is that there are some red flags with Nessus in this conversation and Mercury in its home sign, Gemini. There are some red flags that have been unignorable for a long time that are going to come through the arena of the emotions with this new moon conjunct Lilith. That at this time, because they are so unignorable, they're going to demand that you deal with the way that they make you feel. Okay. There can be a wanting to move forward, a wanting to close cycles. Pisces energy is the tail end of the zodiac. And so, with divine feminine sitting there after moving through all the other 11 signs before she makes her new beginning in Aries next year, there can be a sense of completion or closure, or recognizing completion and closure is needed while simultaneously not knowing how to create it. For those who are in union, you may find that there's a real difficulty at this time in being receptive and open to one another. That there's something maybe within yourselves that are tugging at you to be more receptive to your own feelings for now, to be receptive to, that nagging feeling in the back of your brain, or that nagging sensation that you just can't let go of. There's messages in that. And so where you're in an emotional loop or repeating an emotional cycle, it's because there's some healing to do. And what's happening in our internal divine feminine energies is this particular feeling that keeps coming up, or this loop that may be coming up, is trying to indicate and point out, psst, psst, hey, you pay attention. This is what needs healing. Look deeper here. Dig in here. The gold is underneath this. Focus in this direction. And so there's a bit of that kind of guidance coming through this lunation for divine feminine energies. There can be a lot of question marks with this as well. Like I said, with Uranus speaking to the North Node, change is in the air. There's dramatic change, divine change, 180-degree about faces on issues we never thought we would change on. And so, I talk about some of the political and legal and collective, cultural, sociocultural stuff over in the Lightworker Energy Update if you want to have a listen to that. But in our individual divine connections, for some counterparts, this is indicating a role reversal. For some of you, this is where if you've seen in your connection an anchoring of running and chasing energy, this is where roles can flip. If you've seen in your connection a polarity around, well, I'm divine feminine or I'm divine masculine, and the other person is the other one, this is where, again, roles can flip. This can be the kind of situation where, you may have felt like you were really going in one direction with your person, and somewhere between now and the tail end of the year, things move in a completely opposite 180-degree direction. The name of the game for divine feminine energy fields, because she sits in Pisces, Pisces is the sign of the all things, the everything, the cosmic soup, the collective energy that is no one energy in particular, the sign of our connection to spirit. The name of the game is to surrender. And for any divine feminine energy who has struggled with this concept, 2022 is going to teach it to you. You will learn surrender in 2022. You will learn how to let go. You will learn that you cannot control it all. You will learn that there is nothing you can do to force your connection in a particular direction. She's going to be speaking extensively this year. Now that she's in Pisces, for the remainder of the year, she's going to be speaking extensively with Neptune. Neptune loves to teach us surrender, loves to teach us how to go with the flow, loves to teach us how to lean into uncertainty and accept it as a necessary step in spiritual transformation, growth, and change processes in our lives. This is just that year where if you have failed surrender class before, you will learn it, you will pass it, you will ace it in 2022. I guarantee you that is what the lesson is in our divine feminine energy fields this year. So whatever you can do to lean into living with uncertainty for now and finding the beauty in that, that is the best way to work with this. One of the challenges that I'm seeing presenting in divine feminine energy fields, and this is in particular for those of you who are in some sort of limbo in your connection. You're not necessarily in some sort of union. You're not necessarily in some sort of separation. You're not just friends. You're not, a full-on committed partnership where the structure of the connection is cloudy in some way, shape, or form. For you, this may be a year with Pisces energy where you may need to really learn how to slow down and take on and or do less. One of the challenges we have found in the research, psychologically speaking, when it comes to uncertainty and unclarity, the human brain does not do well with the unknown. It is wired to understand a yes. It can take that, it can understand that, it can process it. It's wired to understand a no. It can take, understand, and process no. But what the human brain does not do well with is, I don't know. There isn't a clear answer. There isn't a definitive yes or no. And so for some of you, this energy is going to play out in your work world. I've talked to a number of people who have work things up in the air where there isn't a definitive, clear direction at this time. For some of you, this is going to take place in your family situations where you're dealing with custody challenges one way or the other. For some of you, this is going to take place in your romantic connection with your divine counterpart, maybe another person in the mix. Both of you may have other people in the mix. One of the things that we do when we are uncertain as humans, when we've hit the limit in terms of uncertainty that we can take, is we begin to make up stories in order to fill in the gap. Making up stories can come in a number of fashions, and this runs the gamut from shadow to light, with, on the shadow side, straight up conspiracy theories. Sound like straight up, like just lies and conspiracy theories to help us make sense of something that absolutely makes no sense at all. There can be that, or something that we can't process at this time. We can go in that direction. On the other side of this, and the opposite of shadow, there's light, and there can be a deep, deep, deep channeling into and reaching into spiritual illumination to find truths that we can't validate at this time, but are true nonetheless. Whichever side you fall on, we all go back and forth between the two as we hit our internal limit of dealing with uncertainty. The thing that I want to remind each person of is to work with where there are certainties in your life. This may be a year where, because there can be so much uncertainty in connection, because the divine feminine energy represents our partnerships in mundane astrology, because there can be so much uncertainty and connection. This may be a year where, to balance that out and cope with it, you may need to foster certainty in other areas of your life, where you might normally be a person who, loves to island hop or travel a bunch, and you kind of fly by the seat of your pants. If there is so much uncertainty in this particular area of your life, to balance and stabilize yourself, this may be a year where you anchor in one place. For example, if you've got a lot of uncertainty going on, maybe in a business partnership or a collaborative connection, if there's a lot up in the air there, and you were also thinking, well, this will be the year where I start this other creative project or this other new thing, to balance the uncertainty out, because it can be very unsettling to the human psyche. This may be a year where you say, okay, I'm going to be with the uncertainty and the triggers that it brings up for me, and stabilize in my family or stabilize in my home, or I'm going to stabilize in other areas. Do what you need to do to foster groundedness and certainty that's positive and health and life-giving for you in the places that you can. Find nourishing routines for yourself and rituals for yourself in ways that allow your nervous system to settle, because this uncertainty energy in divine feminine energy fields is going to be here. It's going to be here until January of 2023. And so, depending upon your relationship to the unknown, you may find this extraordinarily triggering, which this new moon is going to bring up for everyone with Lilith, the configuration of Lilith and Pholus up here. Like I said, I talk about it extensively in the Lightworker energy update. This new moon is going to be triggering for a lot of people. And if you're okay with uncertainty, you do well in uncertainty, you thrive in this place, this is how you access your creativity, then you'll find that this year really yields a lot of creative, fertile ground for you. But what you may find, again, research has shown us the human mind isn't built to live in uncertainty for extended periods of time without having a response that can be like trauma. It may not be trauma, but it can be like trauma. So do what you can to foster your stability in other areas as a way of self-care and nurturing. If you hit your max, your limit in uncertainty, because unfortunately, and I mentioned this in the last lunation as well for twins, that some of this energy is really going to function like a bit of a test for some of you, because there has been so much running, so much disconnecting, so much turning away from the connection that has ignited your soul and has you sitting here listening to this. If there's been so much running and this triggering energy comes up that is inescapable, this for the remainder of 2022, what you may find is that it's very easy to just shut down, to just wall it out, to just go into a major run pattern here and completely miss the lessons and the growth and the opportunity in this union window to take your next step in terms of union with self, source, soul group, mission, or counterpart. Okay. So I say all of this with a lot of love. Some of us are real creatures of clarity, myself included. Uncertainty is not my bag. It is not my jam. I do not find creative juice in it. It does not work for me in the ways that it works for other people. But, in the ways in which you can source this for and mine it for, uplifting your intuition, amplifying your connection to spirit, amplifying your spiritual gifts, your creativity, where you can use it in that way, please do. And where you can't use it in that way, please stabilize so that you can remain open to the lessons as they occur. Okay, so that's what we have with Miss Juno there. Time to explore emotions. What else do I have in these notes? There's going to be lots of new ideas and new paths opening right alongside the concern, am I doing this right, for some of you? If I go down this new path, there is a certain awareness that this time is very consequential. And so there can be, for many of you, this sense of like, well, if I go down this path, does it completely shut the door on this other thing, forever? And in some ways, with Uranus conjunct the North Node, that is a good question to be asking yourself, because the kinds of things that are decisions that get made at a time like this do have long-term consequences. They can dramatically change the structure of our lives at this point in time. In a way in which, not that it's permanent, but in a way in which, okay, I'm in this direction, turning back would be extraordinarily difficult. So take your time with this energy. Allow it to teach you instead of trying to control it. Okay. Let's talk about divine masculine energy. That is our friend Jupiter here in the sign of Aries. We have, one last thing. We've got an ongoing theme with Juno and Pisces in our divine feminine energetic fields that talks a lot about releasing. Like I said, I did mention purging, but I just want to talk about releasing karma, releasing patterns, releasing wounds, wounded thinking, especially during this new moon in Cancer, or emotional woundedness patterns where for some reason you keep repeating the same emotional pattern in your relationships. If that's a problem for you, I strongly suggest that we have a look at your chart. You can book with me over at kmoonastro.com. If you notice you're repeating the same pattern, different person, or a same pattern with the same person over and over and over again, booking a relationship reading would be really useful for you, so that during this release cycle of the next 6 months, you can leave that behind and step into what Uranus is providing is a divine initiation into a new pattern in your life. In a session, we can uncover what the roots of the issue are so that you can finally get past it and get on with the love you want in your life. All right, now let's deal with Jupiter. Link to book is below this video. I've got spaces available in early July so that we can look into it. Jupiter is in a whole different vibe. Jupiter is out here in the first sign of the zodiac, that is Aries. That Aries energy is all about new beginnings. It's all about taking initiative. It's about ambition, goals, and drive. We've got this Jupiter energy square the new moon conjunct Lilith out here in Cancer. And there's a bit of a grand cross if you're using some of what people would call the minor planetary energies, but what I call every bit as significant because they really tell a complete story. They help us see the complete picture. So we've got Pholus in Capricorn. We've got the shaman's asteroid, Makemake, there in Libra. We've got Moon, Sun, and Lilith in Cancer, and we've got Jupiter in Aries. This is a cardinal grand cross. You'll see here at this lunation that there are a lot of cardinal placements, actually. Cardinal energy is the energy of taking initiative to do a new thing, to get on, to just move forward. And so when we have a grand cross, though, the challenge with taking advantage of this cardinal energy, which Jupiter wants to do in Aries, is there's a vibe of being kind of caught between a rock and a hard place, a sensation of feeling like there's no good choices. Squaring the moon, there's deep concern in our divine masculine energy fields about the ways in which whatever we do next may impact our emotional connections or the emotional blowback whatever we do next has on us. Fullest in here talks about, other people just kind of doing their own thing. And then we kind of get caught up in the mix and end up at the mercy of their pain, their challenges, their self absorption. It's a collateral damage energy, a sacrifice energy, something needing to be let go. Shaman's asteroid out here talks about going on a long, challenging journey to bring wisdom back for the people we lead, the people we serve. Now, I spoke at length about some of this energy for the divine masculine way back in the day in the 2020 channeled messages for divine masculine energy. In that update, if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend you take a listen, because I talked about from 2020 through 2024, divine masculine energy is going to be on this journey where there is a recognition of itself as leadership within its community, leadership within its family, leadership among the men that he deals with, if divine masculine energy is recognizing operating in that polaric energy. Okay. We're talking about if you're recognizing yourself as divine masculine as a person. Not everyone's doing that. Like I said, many of you are exploring an integrated energetic field where you recognize yourself in both the updates for masculine and feminine. But for those of you who resonate more predominantly just with masculine energy, this journey is taking you even deeper. Some of you have already stepped into leadership. Some of you have already stepped into, in your ascension process, being that voice and that guide for the men around you. This is going to take you even deeper through into this journey and help you get more centered into who you really are. This sensation that there are no really good choices at this new moon in Cancer with this grand cross energy. Either way, somebody gets hurt. I lose if I do, I lose if I don't. It's that kind of energy. There's a divine purpose to this. It's not about making the right choice for the most people, looking out for everyone else. With divine masculine energy in the sign of Aries, Aries is the sign of the I am. It's the sign of the self. It's the sign of the individual. It's the sign of new beginnings and new birth that begin within. And so with divine masculine energy here at this time, the choice that you're being specifically given no good choices if you look outside yourself. And that's on purpose and by divine design so that you can look within yourself and choose yourself. Make the best decision for you, for your life, regardless of what anyone else is dealing with and or doing. That's what this energy is for. You feel stuck, you feel caught, you feel like you can't move specifically because this is an instructive period of time where especially for the divine masculine energies that have been very self-sacrificing and selfless, constantly putting what other people want and need in front of what you want and need so that you can appear to them like a good man, like a good person. If that's been your path, this particular new moon in Cancer has shoved you back into a corner and said, you cannot come out of this corner until you choose yourself, until you choose what's best for you, until you give yourself permission to be included in your calculations in terms of what you do next. So this is a very necessary pre-union energy. For those of you who are just joining the channel, we are in the middle of a union window this year and next year. These union windows of this particular caliber show up once every 6 to 8 years. So it's like a 7-year cycle. And this 7-year cycle, we're coming to the peak of it in January, but this activation that we're receiving at this lunation is really forcing divine masculine energy to say, hey, whatever kind of union you're looking for with source, soulmate, or divine counterpart, you know, your mission, looking for union with your soul group, whatever you're looking to get in union with, it's not going to be possible for you until you have learned how to really be all of you, stand up for who you are, unapologetically be yourself, include yourself, get what you need. Okay. And so, yes, that's a bit of what this is talking about. And the emotional triggers showing up at this lunation are really forcing you to deal. Deal with it so you can heal it. Okay. So that's some of this. Now, yes, only by being a whole self can we then offer anything to someone else. That's what this is getting into. Now, for some divine masculine energies, I want to talk about a different way that this energy is playing out with Jupiter square new moon in Cancer. Cancer talks about families. Cancer talks about when we have Jupiter square the new moon, that's a classic kind of fertility energy. And we also have Uranus creating about faces inside of our worlds. This whole dynamic can facilitate for some divine masculine energies becoming a father at this time, stepping into parenthood for the first time, conception energy. For some of you, this is going to be very planned. You've been working diligently with a partner to, adopt or foster a child or conceive a child. For others of you, this is going to be an energy of almost like, oops, accidental pregnancy. So if you're not intentionally trying to conceive at this time, just be very mindful of that and take appropriate steps. And if you are trying to conceive, be very mindful at this time and take appropriate steps. Okay. But it's, yeah, there's this configuration and this energy is really giving us the opportunity to bring forth our creativity and our creative ideas, creative works, creative offsprings, bring these things into being this year. Through our divine masculine energy fields. There's, like I said, lots of fertility energy here. Okay. And for those of you who are in a union already of some sort in the third dimension with a counterpart, the way I see this energy playing out for you, in addition to fertility energy, is that this is really great co-creative energy with your divine counterpart to figure out what happens next. I think some of you may be moving in together, or if you were already living together, you may have come to the realization with this particular new moon in Cancer, which governs home and families, that we love each other. We just can't live together. We each need our individual space in order to be our best to one another. That's a way this could play out too, is a new configuration around living circumstance and partnership. There could also be an energy here. I mentioned collaboration, work-wise, but if there's been just a little bit of withdrawal, or each person in the union being a little touchy, a little sensitive, know that there's stuff coming up. There's things bubbling under the surface, feelings that are here that are pointing to a way in which there's something in ourselves that needs attention, needs healing, may need to be reconfigured in the connection itself, so that we are able to better connect with one another, to remove those energetic bricks between us and the ones we love. So pay attention to those feelings and triggers if they're coming up. Yeah, so that's what I got. This is a beautiful energy. I love to see it. I love to see divine masculine energy out here in Aries, really taking initiative on things in their life that need to happen in order for them to be whole and complete. I love to see divine feminine energy being given that, correct that note from the universe. Hey, sit back, relax, chill, purge, release, heal, do nothing, wait and see. Go with the flow. I love to see that for divine feminine energy. Aries is indeed a masculine sign. Pisces is a feminine sign. And so there's this, you know, because they're both in signs that really reflect their innate nature, there's a rebalancing of masculine and feminine energies internally, externally, within our, within ourselves, those of us who are light workers and who have divine counterpartships going on. So just know that, there's divine purpose to the way all of this is unfolding, even if it's uncomfortable right now. If you can lean into working with the energy constructively, it will guide your life in a positive direction. If you'd like to look at the way all of this is going to play out for you in your chart or in your connections, best thing to do, book a twin flame reading with me over at kmoonastro.com. Link is below this video. I've got space in early July. We can have a look at this union window and what you personally can expect. Thank you so much for liking, watching, subscribing, and sharing. And I will see you at the next lunation. Take great care and bye for now.